Yeah,
It's that time.
it's time for Turnbuckle Tapes. I am Liam, hailing from the Black Lodge,
My name is Kyle. I hail from Holy Terra.
and we're here with our third episode of Turnbuckle Tapes, and we're going to be going over the fallout from Bash of the Beach. Going to be talking about July 8th, 1996 at the MGM Studios outside of Disneyland, Orlando, Florida.
Monday Night Nitro.
The Nitro. And I remember, that was one of the things I remember as a kid, was they always did the shows outside for a bit, especially outside of the MGM Studios. And that's something I wish would come back more often.
That was really cool. I remember they did, I think the first Nitro they did was in the Mall of America.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
And that's a cool way to get, I mean, I'm sure people paid for tickets for, like, the floor seats and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're shopping, you're definitely going to stop and watch a match or two, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Nah, I think that was kind of one of the things that helped with the ascension of wrestling and having it outside of stadiums or your traditional venues.
Yeah, because that was really smart of them, too, because I think it let a lot of people see wrestling in general and be exposed to it, and, you know, you're not having to pay for it. You're walking by Orange Julius, and
It's free marketing.
And you watch a wrestling match, and maybe that probably turned on a lot of fans to watching it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, so gonna go down the list for the card.
Yeah, the first match we got Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko for the I think that was a Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah.
And then second we got the Blue Bloods, Steven Regal and David Taylor versus Hugh Morris and Big Bubba. And then we got Eddie Guerrero facing off against Psychosis. Also we have, for the number one contender for the WCW World Tag Team Championship, the Steiner Brothers facing off against the Nasty Boys. Ric Flair versus Jim Powers for that was the United States Championship on the line there. And Chris Benoit versus Sergeant Craig Pittman. And the last match we're going to see is the Stinger versus Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson.
Double A.
Double A. So this is going to be following off the footsteps of Bash at the Beach. We found out that Hogan sided with the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and Hogan cuts a promo pretty much saying how he built wrestling and how the New World Organization, New World Order is going to be taking over. And this episode pretty much just threads that theme throughout the whole episode, with everyone making comments, their thoughts on everything. So we'll be kind of touching on that throughout the episode. The first match with Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko was an absolute slapper from the get-go. So like the first sequence of that match was really intense. A lot of reversals, a lot of try to, you know, see where the other person was at, and yeah, like the first minute was just absolute intensity.
Oh, it was a clinic on technical wrestling.
Yeah.
It was great. I love Dean Malenko. I love his entrance. It always gets me hyped up. He's walking to the ring. He's rubbing his wrists, doing his little strut that he has.
No nonsense kind of guy.
No nonsense. He's in there. That's his home. He's gonna show you around.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what I mean.
And I've talked about this with you before. Would Dean Malenko have been bigger with a manager?
100% yes. And I think, like we were mentioning before, that in a private conversation, that Dean Malenko could have done well with the manager and went higher than he did in his career. Even if he had stayed with the Four Horsemen, I feel like having that stable or that faction like the NWO had, it would have built up his popularity and his career, I think, more. Having Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, you know, like two of the greats by your side, you're only going to go higher.
Yeah.
I still think Dean Malenko has a great career.
He does.
Or did, yeah. He's a great wrestler.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he wasn't big, but the technicality and the finesse that man possessed was really top tier. Great match, and also, you know, obviously Rey's still young, and there was a couple spots in the match that I thought were really impressive. There was one spot where Dean was trying to do an Irish whip off the rope into Rey and trying to knee him in the gut, and Rey just hopped over and rolled him up into a pin, and it was the fluid. It was just poetry in motion, just super enticing to watch. And when Malenko would get Ray up on his shoulders, Ray would just do like these arm drags, it was effortless. Like that was one of the things that I think made Ray what he is today, was just at the pace that he was able to work and the versatility that he had. And this match definitely showcases the versatility that both of these wrestlers had.
Yeah, and like I like to say, whatever you paid for the ticket for that Nitro, that first match was well worth your money to watch. It was so good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the match had great storytelling. Malenko held most of the match during the time. And then, obviously, with the traditional Rey Mysterio kind of angle, underdog story, he gets the 3 count against Malenko because Malenko's arrogance of him just trying to inflict pain and giving Rey a lot of opportunity to get one over on Malenko really kind of drove home that underdog story that Rey really carries so well.
Yes. We also are hearing a lot from Tony Schiavone about his comments that he made the previous night, which I don't think were that bad, but he felt very sincerely that he needed to apologize for some of the things that he said, and I don't think they were really that bad.
I don't even know what was said.
That he was disappointed in Hulk Hogan. Which is worse than being mad at him, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the whole dad angle. It's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
And the match ends with Dean Malenko going for a backbreaker, which is reversed by Rey Mysterio into a Rana pin, and he becomes the new Cruiserweight champion.
Congratulations, Rey.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved.
Great match.
The start of a long, illustrious Hall of Fame career.
Very. Did you notice this was at MGM Disney?
Yeah.
Right?
Like Orlando area, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of old retirees in the crowd, a lot of old nanas
Them veterans
showing up for some Cruiserweight action.
That's right. Then we switched to a Glacier promo, and this was...
Excuse me, I think you mean it was the trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie.
You would think so. Like, oh my god.
They were building it up a while before Glacier came out, and I was there for it. I thought it was a cool concept of a character. We'll get into Glacier more later on, but it was a cool They just ripped off Mortal Kombat.
It was straight up. Yeah, because they were talking about like portals being open, and it just even the armor and the face mask. The trailer to me felt like I was watching a Mortal Kombat trailer.
Yeah, like it was going to be a live action TV show of Mortal Kombat or something. It was great. It was good marketing.
It's good marketing. I don't know. Maybe at the time, like it was a good idea. I don't know. In my opinion, like retrospect, it's kind of campy. But I mean, I guess that's kind of what you get in wrestling. Sometimes you get some of that campiness,
and sometimes I love the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Let me go back real quick to the Ray match with Dean Malenko. We're watching the end where he pulls up that Rana pin reversal and wins the match. That ended up being the Pep Boys Power Pin of the week, and it's only Monday, so was kind of weird.
Nobody else has anything impressive for the rest of the week.
No, don't bother watching wrestling for the rest of the week.
No,
no power pin will top that.
That was it. That was top tier pinning for the week.
Pep Boys approved.
Cars like them, people love them.
And then we go to a the Steiner Brothers and Nasty Boys promo, and we got Scott Hall talking about Colonel Parker hitting his brother in the head, and you can hear Rick in the background like he wants to cry, but he's saying it didn't hurt. I thought that was kind of funny. And then after that, let's do a callback to the last episode where we had Big Bubba versus John Tenta. We didn't know what the match was called because we just called it a sock filled with silver dollars match.
Yeah, we definitely mislabeled that one.
It was called the Carson City Silver Dollar match. So I just want to put that on the record that that's what that type of match was called.
And now we know.
And I believe there was never another match like that ever.
No.
That was a one-time...
That was an NFT of wrestling, a 1-for-1.
Yes.
Then you know what? Let's put that on the blockchain.
Buy it, sold it, traded it, cryptocurrency.
Massive gains, bullish on the Carson City silver dollar match. Let's go.
The next match we're going to see is the Blue Bloods versus...
It was Hugh Morris and Big Bubba.
And Big Bubba, yes.
Yeah. Not William Regal, but Steven Regal.
Lord
the Lord Regal. And Squire David Taylor.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. We got Zabisco talking about how they look like maids or something, and he's like, says, yeah, we have the same thing here. They're called our wives. Larry Zabisco's a great commentator.
No, he was good.
Him and the Brain, they always had something quippy to say. Funny.
They did. I honestly forgot about Zabisco until I watched this episode, and then as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This dude is just like Bobby, like just super quick, just always has something to say, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be delivered well. The Blue Blood with Humorous, it was an okay match.
Yeah, nothing really stuck out to me. It was a good match. We had John Tenta come out and interfere.
Yeah,
and
he came out.
Lay some hands on Big Bubba, getting some revenge from that Carson City Silver Dollar match.
Yeah, and then the Blue Bloods take advantage of the distraction, and then the Humorous with a double back body drop. Blue Bloods get the 1, 2, 3, win it for the Queen.
God save the Queen.
God save the Queen and Steven Regal, because he's a man.
Very, very manly. And then the next match is...
I think the next match was Eddie Guerrero and Psychosis.
Oh, yes. This was Psychosis's Monday Night Nitro debut.
Which I was talking about earlier in our... before we started, and I thought it was weird that Psychosis had a debut on Bash at the Beach, but he's never been on Nitro.
Yeah, you figured it'd be the other way around. Get him on, WCW Saturday Night or Nitro or Thunder. I don't think Thunder was
out at that time.
Well, to have him on either I'm sure he did house shows or whatever, but it was just backwards. It should have been, you figured you'd debut on Nitro and then build up your story or whatever, and then, hey, guess what? You're going to be on a pay-per-view now, and it's your time to shine.
Yeah.
But
I mean Eddie Guerrero and Psychosis, that was actually still a good match. Really enjoyable. A lot of big spots in that one. Yeah, Eddie's pretty much just doing the heel tactics with holding the hair and then pushing Psychosis into the ropes, and then bring Psychosis back into a headlock. Just, dastardly shit.
Yeah, he was working the match. He was working his Psychosis's arms pretty frequently during the match.
And I noticed that the match had a lot of pacing changes, quick sequences, and match would slow down.
Yeah, it was up and down kind of a little bit.
And then Psychosis does a gainer off the top rope, and then Eddie's shoulder gets injured, and then Psychosis starts working on Eddie's arm. Eddie eventually gets the upper hand by reversing Psychosis's top rope axe handle with an atomic drop, and then Psychosis dodges a spear into the corner, and then Eddie falls. This was actually like a really cool sequence to finish the match. So Eddie pops back up, puts Psychosis on his shoulder. Psychosis reverses from a sunset flip into a power bomb, and then Psychosis goes back up to the ropes. And then Eddie gets back up on the top rope for a superplex, and gets back up on the top rope, and then hits that frog splash. That was just
frog splash.
It was just such a good sequence. I really enjoyed that. That was a good crescendo ending for that match.
I think one of the better parts of Eddie's career is his time in WCW.
Yeah,
you really got to see how he wrestled in the ring, and his just flawless execution of wrestling in general. It was a pleasure to watch him.
Yeah, it was. And even when he was in WWE, I feel like there was a lot more character development with him. He still had the technicality, but obviously, with the WWF style, the WWE style of wrestling, it's kind of throttled back. But
they made him larger than life in WWE, and you got the technical side in WCW, and then WWE got more of the story, like you said, more character. And you got to learn more about him.
Yeah, and I really think that dude deserves every sort of accolade available just from his career.
I'd say top 10 wrestlers of all time.
I would put him up in my top 10 as well.
Yeah.
Just the dude really thought outside of the box. The chair spots where he would smack it against the ring and then toss it to his opponent while the ref's back's turned and he'd be passed out.
They hit me.
Yeah, brilliant, dude. The dude was amazing.
That's that in-ring psychology that he was a master of.
Yeah. And then after the Ray match, we go to an interview with Mean Gene talking to Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, Jimmy Hart, and the Giant, and they're talking pretty much about the magnitude of what happened at Bash at the Beach. And obviously, the WCW is shook. They pretty much scaled it to the whole wrestling world is shook. And obviously Hogan turned heel and pretty much just spat on the faces of every child who he told to say their prayers and take their vitamins, which was actually steroids and dropping hard R's.
A lot of those. And then we got, Mean Gene's he's just worried about his job. He says they're doing a hostile takeover. Mean Gene's got bills to pay.
Hey man, he's got a mortgage. He's got to put money in his kids' college funds.
Got to keep gas in the tank. I'd be worried about it too, Mean Gene.
I get it, man.
And then we hear from the Giant too. Everybody's big mad at Hogan for turning, and the Giant says he's there to protect WCW single-handedly against the New World Order.
Big words from a big man.
He was a very big man.
Very big man. Next match, we got the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags against the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner. This match was honestly a little underwhelming for me, considering the two teams.
Two great teams.
Yeah, like they're really good. Like I mean, you have the technicality from the Steiners, and then you have the more like hardcore style from the Nasty Boys. But to me, it was just like a lot of lariats and a lot of like just
a lot of suplexes.
Just
Suplex City.
Just I don't know. It was okay. Just nothing really stood out to me in that match, and it.
One thing that stood out to me was there was a lot of mullets in that match.
A lot of mullets, yeah.
Except Rick Steiner, the only one not rocking a mullet, but they were beautiful, beautiful mullets.
I love them. And then I don't know if you saw the mullet in the crowd, but there's a gentleman with a mullet and mustache combo on the hard cam.
Ooh.
With the most 90s top I have ever seen. Like, I wish I could have a Life Touch photo of that man in that time just to have up in my wall, because my God, that was a beautiful combo. I know that was a random mention, but
I didn't catch him, but we'll have to run the tape back.
We'll run the tape back. I'll even take a clip or take a picture of it, and then I'll post it on the social media, so that way, like everyone can appreciate it. Yes, because oh my God, that was a thing of beauty. Anyway, let me digress from my mullet and mustache fascination.
One funny part in the match, we got Jerry Sags stealing a little kid's chair. The poor kid didn't have nowhere to sit, but Jerry Sags needed a weapon.
Hey,
that kid provided the weapon.
He did. That weapon's more important than you having a seat for the remainder
of the show. You don't need
to be
comfortable.
No.
No.
You got young legs, as the old timers would say.
Exactly. And then I think there was some interference from Sherry Martel and Colonel Parker.
Yeah, they came down and Colonel Parker hit Brian Knobbs with the cane, and then Steiners capitalized on that for the win.
Yeah, and then later on they'd go on to face the Harlem Heat for the championship.
At Hog Wild out at Sturgis.
Sturgis, a lot of bikers.
A lot of bikers.
Brother.
Let me tell you something about Sturgis,
Let me tell you, dude.
And then, what else? Go to another Mean Gene interview.
Oh, this one's great.
Yeah, this one was great. And then it's actually, he's talking to Jerry and Brian about their match, and Jerry Sags mentions that life is like wrestling, and he does like this twitchy thing, which kind of made me laugh. And then he goes on, and then Mean Gene prematurely pulls the microwave. And then
big mistake.
Yeah, Brian Knobbs gets on Mean Gene, and he's just like going back and forth, and he's like, "Oh, I think he's done." And he's oh God, dude, that was so funny. But yeah, and then same thing. Brian goes over like the magnitude of Hogan's turn. He actually says that he understands because much like the New World Order and Hulk Hogan now, the Nasty Boys do what they want when they want, because they're the Nasty Boys. We're the boys. Yeah.
That's where the big boys play WCW.
That's right. Them boys with mullets. And then after the Mean Gene interview with the Nasty Boys, our next match is with Jim the Jobber Powers and Ric Flair.
With Elizabeth and Deborah McMichael.
Yeah. I didn't know this until you mentioned it earlier, but that was Steve McMichael's wife at that time, who eventually became Stone Cold's wife. I was watching it, and I was like, I knew she looked familiar. I couldn't quite put my...
Yeah, that was a young Deborah McMichael we've seen.
But yeah, so Ric Flair comes out.
Yeah, they did. I really liked. They did a nice chest chop back and forth, and those looked like they hurt for some reason. Like the way that they were selling them, and the sound of the
woo. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Some obviously gonna have some Ric Flair chops.
I love in wrestling today when on TV or you're going to shows, and whenever there's a chest chop,
Oh yeah,
the woo is still going strong.
It's in the DNA of wrestling.
It's one of those things, and I love it. I love that we keep that tradition alive.
Yeah, my favorite part too of going to like a wrestling match too is before the show starts, you hear one person woo, and then eventually you just hear it just all over the place.
It's like a wave of like, you know, when you go to like a football game or something.
Exactly.
Everybody's doing it. You can still hear when you go to shows. You still hear the what? You know, the Stone Cold, and all these gimmicks. They last a long time.
They do.
And they don't get old.
And the one thing that, this may be an obvious thing, but the crowd is ultimately the variable in the equation that is a wrestling match, in my opinion.
I kind of get where you're saying, where the crowd is almost part of the match.
They are, and that's one thing that they always stress is like the crowd's involvement in the match. So if you're able to do something, whether it be a phrase or a gesture that gets people involved, I feel like that's one of those catalysts that helps people get over and gets that touching with the crowd.
Or you're gonna get like say a high flyer doing a really cool move or a cool back and forth. You're gonna get the crowd going, "This is awesome!
Yeah,
this is awesome." Which, you know, it helps with the pops and everything, and helps. I think, you know, if you're in the ring, you hear that, you know, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, and
you're gonna do better next time because you live off of that.
Yeah,
you fiend for that.
Well, I've heard a lot of wrestlers say that wrestling is like an addiction, and the crowd chants are to a degree like a drug, and I can totally understand that, because just as somebody that's in the crowd chanting and getting caught up in that electricity or whatever you want to call it, it's a powerful thing, and you know I can understand just like wanting to crave that, especially if you're giving your whole life to this art ultimately, and you know, having that taken away is, I would imagine it's like a heroin addict. Probably not the best analogy, but the strength of the addiction for the pops and the crowds, and you know, all these moments that you're working for. Like I get it.
Yeah,
I get that analogy.
I can picture a wrestler, you know, proud moments in their life, you know, their kids getting married, you know, stuff like that. But you know, part of it for them is getting that pop, hearing them cheer for them, or it's so ingrained, and it's like you said, it's like a drug for that wrestler, and they live off of that.
Yeah, but yeah, to bring it back to track, because I know we went off on a tangent
a little
there.
bit. We do that sometimes.
But yeah, like it was actually a pretty good match. I know I joked about calling Jim Powers a jobber, but I mean it to me, he just it kind of had that like aura of it.
Yeah.
But he actually did pretty good. Like, the dude was pretty good, had very technical style. There was one spot that really made me laugh when Ric Flair broke Jim Powers' momentum after being rolled to the outside. Some big dude gets in Ric Flair's face, and then he gets in his face, and then woman comes off from like the left side of the camera. Ric Flair like comes up, starts twirling her, and then he starts dancing and boogieing, and then Bobby's like, get down, Rick, get down. And then like as soon as he gets in the ring, just like instantly drops to his knees, like the hype that he was riding just instantly stopped as soon as he got into the ring. And then there was a moment where Powers rallies on Flair, and then Powers tosses Flair into the rope, misses his drop kick due to Flair holding on to the rope, and obviously does his little hot dogging moment, little Jackie Fargo strut. He tries to set up the figure four, and Powers rolls him up into a small package, gets the 2 count, and then Powers Irish whips Flair into the turnbuckle, and then Flair moves out of the way as Power charges. Flair chop blocks Powers, basically locks in the figure four.
Rest is history.
1, 2, 3.
Classic Flair.
Yeah.
Did we mention the shrieking that was going on?
Oh yeah, the shrieking. Yeah, oh god, dude. Like, I can't.
Very distracting.
Very distracting. Like, if it was the equivalent of having that brought to my attention is like Blue Oyster Cult's cowbell, you wouldn't notice it. But once the skit pointed it out, it's in the front of my mind now, in the mix. Yeah. So now when I'm watching this match, I just hear her shrieking the entire time that Powers gets any sort of rallying. It's like, oh my god.
Shut up.
And then after the Flair and Powers match, we go to the Mean Gene being caressed by Woman, and she's very handsy with Mean Gene, it seems.
Yeah, this is a Four Horsemen promo, and yeah, Woman is all over Mean Gene. Wasn't she all over him at the pay-per-view
She
too
was.
the night before?
She wants some of that,
And
some of the Oakland.
He's very distracted. I think at one point in his head he said, "Keep your whore hands off me. I'm trying to do this promo.
Trying to do my job.
Trying to do my job," which is on the line. Worried about that job with the hostile takeover.
Very inconsiderate.
Rude.
Basically, Four Horsemen talking about, again, the whole Hogan thing. And the one thing that I really liked that Arn Anderson said that stood out to me was, he said the Four Horsemen never claimed to be role models. You're sitting here telling children to say their prayers and take their vitamins, basically being something that you're not. And I thought that was a cool thing, or at least like a nice angle on it, because it's, the Four Horsemen are, you get what you get. And now with Hogan, it's just two-face scoundrelness, if that's even a word.
Yeah, the Four Horsemen, they're just all business.
All business. No mess around.
No, and then with the constant caressing of Mean Gene, she's staring into the camera while she's doing it.
So awkward.
And then while Arn is talking, you got Ric Flair breaking off into the back, and then he's starting to pour champagne for everybody. Styling and profiling.
I just want to know where this bottle of bubbly popped out from.
It's Ric Flair. He's got it everywhere.
It on standby.
Yeah.
God. Starts pouring drinks and then trying to get Deborah's attention, or what was it? Sherry's trying to get Deborah's attention, and then just
everybody was kind of oblivious to what was going on. I think that was an improv for sure. Then we got Ric Flair with a weird little promo/poem thing that was really kind of weird.
Very weird.
This
is quote.
Quote. I'm not gonna do an impression. I'm not really good at them. But he says, "Excuse me, who do you think this is? Jumpin' Jack Flash? This is 5-time All-Pro, 5-time All-the-Man. Show him the ring, Mongo." Super Bowl ring, he has.
Very nice ring.
Yep. And behind me, Double A Arn Anderson, unparalleled. Outsiders, insiders, until you can heal the sick, wake the dead, and drive little girls right out of their head. Woo! Giant, there's a new champ in town, buddy. One that can go all night long. Isn't that right, girls? Woo! And then we get an update on Lex Luger. He is still dead.
Still flexing, though.
Still flexing. Gotta hit that.
Gotta hit those power poses. Gotta make those pecs pop.
Power pose. And then the next match we're gonna see is Sergeant Craig Pittman, the Pitbull, versus Chris Benoit, the Wolverine. Fun fact, we got Sergeant Craig Pittman, former United States Marine. Very cool.
Semper Fi.
Do or die, Devil Dog.
I didn't know this at first, but when they had the lower third come up and announced Craig Pittman with Teddy Long, I didn't realize Teddy Long was in WCW.
He was, and that's a forgotten memory, I guess. That's where he was there before he was in WWE. Yeah.
It's crazy. Player.
Play.
I don't know if it might have just been me, but I noticed that this episode had, I don't want to say squash matches, but they weren't a lot of big stars. It just seemed like it was like a jobber match. I don't know if that was like intentional or if I'm just misinterpreting it as wrong because, coming back to it. But I just thought that that's what it felt like to me, was that there was like a lot of jobber type matches.
Yeah, I think they were just, I wouldn't say like filler matches, but I think it was for them to kind of take focus, still have the wrestling, but keep the focus on, what happened the night before and what we're leading up into with the hostile takeover. I think because Bischoff, that's all he's talking about through the whole thing. It's kind of distracting a little bit, taking away from the wrestling that you're trying to watch. It's very distracting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it though, because it's like you're trying to drive home the magnitude of Hogan's face turn, and you have to do it in a way where you can showcase your stars while pushing the narrative forward. And this, I feel like, this episode probably was a very narrative focused episode.
Yeah, building that story.
Yeah. Pittman gets the advantage early in the match, causing Benoit to start reaching for the ropes. And then Benoit breaks Pittman's momentum. He continues his momentum with some big belly-to-bellies and German suplexes. They look really good, by the way. I thought they looked pretty clean.
Benoit's really good at German suplex.
Well, no. It was Pittman.
Oh, it's Pittman.
Yeah, Pittman was getting off the German suplexes in the belly.
Oh.
But, obviously with Benoit, he gets his reversal and, like, right out the gate, like, one of the traits of Chris Benoit, which, by the way, he's coming out with, like, a fat, like, bruised lip and a giant fucking bruise on the side of his temple. Like, if that doesn't show, like, the man's intensity, I don't know what else will.
He was all business, Chris Benoit.
But yeah, just getting over on Pittman. Pittman tries to fight back, but Benoit gets the upper hand and delivers a big chop and aggressively tears into Pittman. Pittman tries to fight back, but Benoit puts him in a headlock and then puts his face up against the rope for a 4 count. They go back and forth for a little bit with Pittman trying to rally, but Benoit breaks the eyes. And then eventually Benoit puts him in the crippler crossface, and then
before he could tap, we got Teddy Long throwing in the towel.
Good guy Teddy coming in, pulling a Mickey.
Very. Gotta save the talent.
That's right. But yeah, you can obviously see in the background that Pittman didn't want to be saved, but it's like, what are you gonna do, man? You're in the crossface.
That is a painful thing to be in.
I wouldn't want to be in that.
No, sir.
And then after that, we go right into the main event with the Enforcer.
Arn Anderson, Double A versus the Stinger.
Starting off, I kind of want to go back to the whole what we were saying, where the focus of the story with Hogan's turn was more of
at the forefront.
At the forefront. So during the second hour, it switched from Schiavone and Zbyszko to Bischoff and Heenan.
True.
And so most of the match, they were talking about how they were feeling and kept on harping on the magnitude of the situation. They weren't even really calling any play-by-plays really from the match.
No, Eric Bischoff's giving live feedback from the in-ear monitor that he has that they possibly might have guests showing up, and we think it's probably the Outsiders.
Yes. We can
maybe Hogan. We don't know yet.
We don't know, but same thing with Arn. You're always gonna get, like, I don't know, he's just really good at heel shit. Gets Sting in an abdominal stretch, grabbing on the ropes while the ref isn't looking. I can't remember. I think he had him in the Boston Crab, grabbing the ropes while the ref isn't looking. Just very heelish tactics, and Arn doesn't need to be flashy or anything like that to get heat. He's just very good at what he does. Again, with the Four Horsemen kind of presentation, no nonsense, at least for him, just strictly business.
I think that's perfectly said about the Four Horsemen and Arn Anderson.
I mean, Ric Flair likes to party, but Ric Flair, when the down is getting, he gets down.
Yeah, but we're gonna see this match takes a backseat to the commentary again with Eric Bischoff talking about the fallout again of what happened at Bash at the Beach.
Eventually, they say that, oh, we got company, and then it cuts to a limousine outside, and I think Heenan said it looks like a hearse. Like, not even close, Heenan. Missed that one. But
yeah, the limo pulls up. We see it's Nash and Hall, obviously, and then they're getting ready to head to the ring. Security tries to stop them.
They said, nah.
And then during that, Sting wins the match via Scorpion Deathlock. Savage comes out because he's trying to beat the Outsiders to the ring.
Yeah, because he has skin in the game since he was in the match the night before with Luger and Sting.
Yeah, he wants a little bit of revenge on Nash and Hall.
And especially Hogan.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that took the leg drop.
He gave him, he kind of spammed the leg drops on him.
He did.
Kind of uncalled for.
It's like, buddy.
One's enough, Hogan.
What, you dropped like 2 or 3?
I think it was 3.
That third one was just the middle finger.
But if I'm playing like the video game, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to spam a whole bunch of leg drops. And then we're going to see Mean Gene give a little interview with Sting.
Oh, yeah.
And Sting, for very matter of fact, says he should have known what was going to happen when those guys came in.
Yeah, because he said, what did he say? He said, like, you wouldn't ride with me, Luger, and Macho, and...
Yeah, you were kind of keeping your distance.
Yeah, he hinted at that.
Something was off, and Stinger could tell.
He sensed it.
With his Stinger sense.
Oh, the Stinger senses were tingly.
But to me, in that interview, the promo that we get from Sting talking about Hogan and stuff, that's, I think, the real first iteration of him turning into the Crow Sting.
Yeah.
Where he's just business. He's not the fun guy no more. He's out for revenge.
Very high intensity, too, and especially with the look in his eye. Like you said, it just had, like, a different feeling, like, with the intensity in his eyes. And
I think even with the makeup, you still see the intensity that he has in his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It's even when he was the Crow Sting, you could see he had the face paint on, but you could see the emotion under the face paint, which I thought was a really cool way to have that kind of character, but to be able to still sell emotion.
Yeah, because as dope as masks are, that's kind of one of the hindrances is that you can't see the face, so it's harder to sell that emotion and have that sort of an animation that you would want from acting or anything like that, because everything needs to be larger and exaggerated.
Yeah, and then we get a line from Sting, too, that I really liked, where he tells the Hulk to stick it. I don't know where he wants him to stick it. Lord knows. But we got Macho Man coming up. He's going to talk a little bit about Hogan. He's got a little bit of heat. He's mad.
He's big mad. He starts saying that he's like, what did he say? He said, Hogan, I want you to think about the worst thing. I won't say it on television, but I'm going to do that to you. And you times that by 10 million. And then you take that and you times it by infinity. And that's what I'm going to do to you, Hogan. Oh, yeah.
To infinity and beyond.
To infinity and beyond.
Little Disney.
I was wondering if that was pre or post Buzz Lightyear.
I want to say it's got to be post.
Yeah, because I think
Toy Story came out pretty early.
Like 94, 95?
96, 95.
So probably around that same time.
Yeah. Or maybe they stole it from Macho.
Maybe. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a nod, seeing that they were at the MGM.
Disney.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And I like it.
Yeah.
It's smart. And then we hear a little bit from Nash and Hall.
Oh yeah, they're outside.
They're outside. They won't let them in.
No, they're not the cool guys. They're having their own party.
Yeah. I think there's a line Nash says, too, where he says, this joke didn't age well, but he says he felt like Mark Furman at the Apollo. Mark Furman being the attorney for O.J. Simpson.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that especially now.
Yeah.
Aged like milk.
Yeah, exactly. And then Mean Gene with his head down, he just says, thanks, gentlemen. I don't like what I hear.
Yeah, wasn't he talking about his job, like worried about his
He's
job?
Still worried about his job, too, yeah. And then that's the end. You get a slideshow of what happened at Bash at the Beach.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Pretty
that was
much.
the end of that Nitro.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to add on, the
Yes.
Outsiders did say Mean Gene still had a job.
They did give him job security.
But he did say, well, I still work for Turner Broadcast.
Oh, I love.
Then what are you worried about, Gene, if you're still working for Turner? Turner's not going to fire you.
No. And to be honest, I don't think the New World Order would have fired Mean Gene.
No.
We all love Mean Gene, even if you're a bad guy.
He still needs his place to interview and comment.
Very true. So that's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, we really appreciate it. If you got any comments, questions, leave them down in the comments.
We're concerned if you're concerned about anything. Let us know.
Very concerned.
We're here to help.
We do a heckin' concern here on this channel.
Doing a big heckin' concern.
Well, thank you again, guys. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the flop.